Let's talk about retail at grade. A requirement to have a retail at grade component is very common to see in official plans, secondary plans, and design guidelines. But oftentimes developers push back, saying that retail can't work in this location. And they have other reasons too. Commercial spaces are not a part they could sell pre-construction like residential units are. They're not as profitable as residential units. And even at the end of the process, it's harder to find a retail tenant or an anchor retail tenant. During the municipal approvals, we hear communities fighting for more moms and pops shops and just not another Shoppers Drug Mart at this location. And getting even smaller scale retail makes the developers' pro forma much harder to work. But above all, this is the topics of today's video. Retail can't work everywhere. And that statement was true pre-COVID, and it's true and even stronger now. Even the nicest street I can think of in the nicest European cities, the retail at grades component ends at some point, and it's not a continuous element across the city. First of all, retail needs a strong natural pedestrian flow in order to survive. So especially in smaller towns with a suburban character where people are more dependent on the car, it's really hard to get retail to work beyond the main street. When we look at our neighborhoods today, in today's rent, it's not enough for any business to rely solely on local neighbors. To increase pedestrian flow, you guessed it right, we need more people and hence we need more density. Municipalities are asking for this retail at grade component, believing that if you build it, they will come. But when it comes to retail, it's just not enough. When planning, we need to understand how people walk, from where to where, and if the street is pleasant to walk in to begin with. And yes, mix of uses is crucial in achieving great, vibrant streets. But setting this requirement in stone blindly could harm the pedestrian experience because there's nothing more depressing and sad than walking along abandoned storefronts. So if not retail, what am I suggesting here? Before we cover that, I want to emphasize again that I think retail is a crucial component. It just needs to be carefully designed in where and how we locate it. So here's one example, City Place in Toronto. It's an example of one of the most massive master plans that ever took place in the city. In fact, the planning part started 35 years ago, so it's a massive transformation. They understood fairly quickly that building retail at grade in the early stages will set the place to fail, especially without the density to support it. So they built residential units at grade that could be converted over time to small-scale retail. Even now, decades after the neighborhood became one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in the city, retail hasn't played catch yet. If you ask me, retail is now actually one of the components that City Place is really missing, but that might be a topic for another video. And I'm also aware that from privacy concerns, people might hesitate to live right on a busy street. But there are means to overcome that. Greater setbacks, soft landscape, especially in a housing crisis our generation is facing. I'm also aware that conversion from residential to commercial is easier said than done. Commercial requires higher ceiling height, loading, parking, soundproofing. It is very different from residential. However, we need to be aware that we're not just blindly putting retail in places that set it to fail. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.